History has always been a theater of masks, some carefully crafted, some hastily carved, and some so natural that even the wearer forgets the deception. In this theater, Niccolo Machiavelli stands like a silent observer, not applauding virtue nor condemning vice, but merely pointing out the uncomfortable truth that humans, especially those who seek power, rarely survive by being what they appear to be. Appear good, do evil. Though not a direct quote from the prince, captures the essence of the paradox he exposes. Machiavelli invites us into a world where morality is not abolished, but weaponized, where appearances are shields and intentions are swords. In this world, the human heart wishes to be loved, yet reality demands to be feared. The human spirit yearns for honesty, yet survival often requires concealment. The brilliance of Machiavelli lies not in encouraging wickedness, but in revealing the brutal mechanics of influence, manipulation, and self-preservation. Mechanics many pretend do not exist. To understand him is not to become corrupt, but to become aware of masks, aware of motives, and aware of the darkest corners of human behavior, where morality becomes a negotiation rather than a truth. When Machiavelli suggests that a ruler must learn how not to be good, he is not offering a celebration of wickedness. He is diagnosing the reality of power. He lived in a time of political betrayals, shifting alliances, and fragile loyalties. Yet his observations apply just as sharply to the modern world. Whether in politics, business, relationships, or the subtle dynamics of everyday interaction, humans instinctively reward confidence, charm, and perceived virtue. But beneath those polished veneers lie ambitions, fears, and survival instincts that rarely align with the image presented to the world. To appear good becomes a strategy, a calculated projection designed to earn trust, reduce suspicion, and open doors that pure honesty might keep closed. Meanwhile, the actions undertaken behind the scenes, those necessary but unpleasant decisions, become the evil one must be willing to do to protect one's goals and stability. Machiavelli is not glorifying hypocrisy. He is exposing its practicality. He understands a truth we often ignore, that people judge by appearances, and therefore appearances must be mastered. Power belongs not to the most moral, but to the most perceptive, those who understand the dual role of image and action. In human society, perception often outweighs truth. A person who behaves ethically but appears suspicious is distrusted, while someone with questionable morals but a charming exterior is embraced as a savior. Machiavelli recognizes this imbalance and urges us to look beyond surface-level ideals. His philosophy challenges the sentimental belief that goodness alone guarantees success. Instead, he reveals that people rarely inquire into the moral origins of an act. They only observe its outcomes. If the outcome benefits them, they celebrate the leader as wise. If it harms them, they condemn him as evil. Thus, the wise strategist learns that morality in the public sphere is not absolute, but fluid, shaped by the narratives people choose to believe. To control these narratives, one must master the art of appearing noble, even when making decisions that are ruthlessly practical. This duality is disturbing because it suggests that authenticity might be a disadvantage in a world built on impressions. Yet Machiavelli is not advocating for deceit as a lifestyle. He is illuminating a battlefield where the honest often fall first, not because they lacked virtue, but because they lacked awareness of the theater they were performing in. The idea of doing evil in Machiavellian thought does not refer to senseless cruelty. Rather, it points to the unpleasant realities a leader may face, enforcing difficult decisions, eliminating threats, maintaining discipline, or breaking an alliance that no longer serves the greater stability. These actions are not taken for the joy of wrongdoing, but for the preservation of order and purpose. Machiavelli argues that a ruler who refuses to make hard choices out of a desire to remain morally spotless places his entire domain at risk. In this sense, evil becomes a necessary burden, a responsibility rather than a desire. The tragedy lies in the fact that the public demands moral perfection in their leaders, while simultaneously pressuring them into situations where moral purity is impossible. This contradiction forces any leader, whether a monarch, a CEO, or even a parent, to navigate between what is ideal and what is necessary. Machiavelli simply acknowledges this uncomfortable truth that sometimes, to protect the many, one must act in ways the many will never understand. And so the mask of goodness becomes not a sign of hypocrisy, but a shield against the shallow judgments of the crowd. At the heart of Machiavelli's philosophy is the recognition that human beings are inconsistent. They desire strong leadership but resist discipline. They admire humility but follow confidence. They claim to love truth but punish honesty that exposes their illusions. To appear good, therefore, is to speak the language people understand: kindness, generosity, patience, empathy. These traits calm the public, soothe anxieties, and create a sense of trust. But behind the curtain, the leader must deal with a more brutal reality: rivals who seek to usurp him, allies who may betray him, and a community whose loyalty shifts with convenience. In such an environment, appearing good is not deception. It is diplomacy. It is the creation of stability in a world that is naturally chaotic. Machiavelli teaches that the person who shows all their intentions, fears, and vulnerabilities openly invites exploitation. Thus, the mask of virtue is not a lie, but a layer of protection, a necessary interface between the inner world of strategy and the outer world of human expectation. The tragedy is that society demands goodness as a display, but rarely rewards it as a reality. It is easy to dismiss Machiavelli as cynical, but such dismissal usually comes from those who have not faced the darkest corners of human behavior. Anyone who has experienced betrayal, manipulation, or exploitation eventually discovers that innocence alone does not guarantee safety. Machiavelli simply articulates what life teaches harshly: that wicked people do not hesitate to exploit the virtuous. Those who refuse to adapt, those who cling to unguarded sincerity, often fall prey to those willing to weaponize deception. Therefore, the Machiavellian lesson is not be evil, but recognize evil, anticipate it, and do not let it consume you. If one must take morally ambiguous actions, it should be in defense of one's purpose, one's people, or one's stability, not for personal cruelty. The paradox is that those who understand the necessity of evil often commit less of it than those who blindly trust their own purity. For when we imagine ourselves incapable of wrongdoing, we lose awareness of our capacity for harm. Machiavelli tells us that wisdom requires self-awareness, and self-awareness includes acknowledging the darker potentials within us, not to embrace them, but to master them. The Machiavellian worldview forces us to confront a difficult question: is it better to be loved or feared? His answer, that it is ideal to be both, but safer to be feared, is often misunderstood. Fear, in Machiavelli's context, does not mean terror or brutality. It means respect, boundaries, and the enforcement of consequences. Love is fragile and dependent on the emotions of the moment, but respect is stable when grounded in consistent strength. A leader who tries too hard to be loved becomes easily manipulated, People will push boundaries, demand more than he can give, and turn against him the moment he refuses. But a leader who is respected maintains order, because people understand that violations have consequences. Appearing good ensures affection. Maintaining firmness ensures stability. The synthesis of both forms the Machiavellian ideal, compassionate outwardly, disciplined inwardly. This balance is difficult, because humans prefer comfort over confrontation. But leadership, at any level, requires both gentle diplomacy and decisive authority. Machiavelli teaches that the leader who embraces only softness or only harshness fails. The successful one learns the art of wielding both with precision. To appear good is also a matter of social intelligence. People respond more positively to virtue than to aggression, even when the aggression serves their interests. A leader who enforces difficult truths without cloaking them in compassion provokes resentment. However, one who wraps harsh realities in a narrative of purpose, care, and stability preserves loyalty, even when making unpopular choices. Machiavelli recognizes that perception controls emotion, and emotion controls loyalty. Therefore, mastering perception becomes a crucial aspect of leadership. But this mastery requires more than acting. It requires understanding the psychology of the human crowd, its fears, hopes, desires, and insecurities. In every society, people crave heroes, even when those heroes make decisions they themselves would never want to face. Thus, appearing good is not mere manipulation. It is an act of leadership that acknowledges the emotional needs of the people. Yet behind this guiding hand, the leader must navigate the storms that the public never sees. And in those storms, goodness alone is insufficient. Machiavelli reveals a world where virtue shines brightest when supported by strategy, and where strategy is most effective when concealed beneath the glow of virtue. Machiavelli understood that the human mind is drawn to symbols more strongly than to realities. A ruler may be competent, strategic, and disciplined, yet without the symbols of goodness, charity, humility, mercy, people perceive him as cold or dangerous. Conversely, a leader with no real moral substance can gain admiration simply by displaying virtuous gestures. This human vulnerability becomes a central theme in Machiavelli's teaching. People judge quickly, superficially, and emotionally. Therefore, he urges the strategist not to underestimate the power of symbolic goodness. A single public act of generosity may overshadow months of stern decision-making. A moment of apparent compassion can erase the memory of necessary but unpleasant actions. To appear good is, in this sense, to speak the symbolic language of the masses. But the danger lies in believing one's own performance. Many rulers fall because they become intoxicated with their own image of virtue, forgetting the harsh decisions that stability demands. Machiavelli warns that a leader must never fully become the mask he wears. He must remember that the applause of the crowd is fleeting, but the consequences of weak strategic judgment are permanent. The appearance of goodness opens doors, but strength keeps them from closing. In every era, leaders are confronted with the moral dilemma of choosing between what is popular and what is necessary. Machiavelli exposes this conflict with unflinching clarity. The people often demand solutions, but resist the sacrifices required to achieve them. They want peace without discipline, prosperity without effort, and justice without conflict. A leader who tries to provide these fantasies becomes a puppet to public opinion, forever shifting, forever apologizing. But a leader who understands Machiavelli's principle recognizes that necessity often clashes with sentiment. Appearing good allows the crowd to feel reassured, but doing what must be done, even when misunderstood, ensures long-term stability. This dual approach requires emotional resilience, the ability to stand firm while being criticized by those who do not understand the weight of leadership. Machiavelli teaches that greatness is not measured by how much praise one receives, but by how effectively one navigates chaos. The wise leader keeps the appearance of benevolence while quietly enduring the burden of difficult decisions. In this way, he protects both the people's comfort and the state's survival, even when those two aims seem incompatible. To understand Machiavelli is to recognize that power is neither inherently evil nor inherently good. It is simply a force, neutral until wielded. What shapes the morality of power is the intention behind its use. A leader who appears good but acts with disciplined purpose may preserve the lives of thousands, but a leader who appears good and avoids hard decisions may inadvertently destroy what he seeks to protect. Thus, Machiavelli shifts the moral lens away from surface-level judgments and toward outcomes. He is not suggesting that the ends always justify the means, but that the ends must be considered when evaluating actions taken under pressure. Too often, people judge leaders by the purity of their image, rather than the wisdom of their decisions. Machiavelli challenges this shallow moral framework by teaching that responsible leadership sometimes requires morally ambiguous actions. Actions whose necessity is clear only to those who understand the full complexity of the situation. The crowd sees appearance. The leader sees consequences. And so, to navigate this gap, the leader must maintain the facade of goodness while working tirelessly to secure the future. The duality is not deceit for personal gain, but strategy for collective survival. Machiavelli's realism is uncomfortable because it strips away the comforting illusions society builds around leadership. We prefer stories where the hero is endlessly virtuous and the villain unmistakably wicked. But reality is far more complex. Leaders are flawed, pressured, fearful, ambitious, and deeply human. Machiavelli does not elevate them to mythic figures. He brings them down to earth. By doing so, he forces us to confront the uncomfortable truth that power magnifies human flaws. Appearing good becomes a way to manage public perception, but it also becomes a way to manage one's own inner chaos. When a leader focuses solely on image, he can easily lose himself, forgetting the loneliness and responsibility of leadership. But when he balances image with strategic clarity, he acknowledges both the expectations of the people and the weight of reality. Machiavelli's philosophy reminds us that leadership is not about moral perfection, but about the courage to confront unfiltered truth. The real danger lies not in appearing virtuous while doing what is necessary, but in pretending that leadership can be practiced without ever entering morally gray territory. Such naivety leads not to righteousness, but to ruin. The duality of appearing good while making difficult choices parallels the duality within every human being. We all wear masks, some for protection, some for politeness, some for survival. Machiavelli simply expands this universal human tendency to the realm of leadership. Everyone has moments where kindness must coexist with firmness, where compassion must coexist with boundaries, where truth must coexist with strategic silence. The difference is that for a leader, the stakes are exponentially higher. A personal mistake affects one's own life. A leadership mistake affects entire communities. This heightens the necessity of strategic duality. Machiavelli recognizes that total transparency is a luxury that power cannot afford. When people know everything a leader thinks, fears, or intends, they can manipulate him. When a leader retains strategic depth, revealing only what is necessary, he protects both himself and the people he leads. Thus, appearing good is not emotional dishonesty. It is emotional discipline. It is the ability to separate one's inner complexities from the expectations of the world. The deeper lesson Machiavelli offers is that humans cannot function in society without masks, but wise humans choose their masks consciously rather than blindly. Critics of Machiavelli often accuse him of endorsing manipulation, but they misunderstand his purpose. Machiavelli is not teaching treachery. He is teaching awareness. The world is already filled with manipulation. He merely reveals what others hide. By understanding how appearances influence perception, a leader can protect himself from those who would exploit naivete. Appearing good is not manipulation when its purpose is stability, not deception for personal gain. Machiavelli expects leaders to act with intention, to recognize the difference between necessary strategic concealment and selfish duplicity. The one who deceives for personal gain becomes a tyrant, but the one who manages perception to prevent chaos becomes a stabilizer. This distinction is crucial. Machiavelli does not remove morality from leadership. He reframes it. Morality becomes not merely a set of rigid rules, but a tool deployed wisely to maintain order and protect the collective. In a world where appearances heavily shape public trust, a leader must master the art of presentation without losing the grounding force of integrity. Machiavelli's message is clear. Awareness of human nature is not evil. Ignorance of it is far more dangerous. To dive deeper into Machiavelli's idea of appearing good while doing what is necessary, we must acknowledge the emotional sacrifice involved. A leader who makes hard decisions often faces loneliness, misunderstanding, and even hatred from the very people he tries to protect. This emotional burden is rarely discussed, yet Machiavelli's writing hints at it. Greatness carries a cost. When a leader appears good, he shields the public from the weight of the decisions being made behind the scenes. But carrying that hidden responsibility requires a strong emotional foundation. The leader must endure criticism without seeking constant validation. He must navigate betrayal without succumbing to paranoia. He must accept that his actions may be appreciated only long after he is gone, or possibly never. Machiavelli teaches resilience, not as an abstract virtue, but as a prerequisite for survival. The emotional strength to maintain one's purpose, while presenting a calm, benevolent exterior, is perhaps one of the most demanding aspects of leadership. Appearing good is easy. Doing what must be done is painful. The union of both forms the complex psychological armor required of those who dare to lead. Machiavelli also emphasizes adaptability, a theme inseparable from the idea of appearances. A leader who clings too tightly to an unchanging moral image becomes predictable, and predictability invites manipulation. To appear good while navigating an ever-changing landscape requires flexibility. One must adjust tone, strategy, and presentation without losing one's deeper purpose. This adaptability is not moral weakness. It is strategic intelligence. Machiavelli observed that those who survive turbulent times are not the strongest, but those who shift their methods while maintaining clarity of vision. Appearing good may win the crowd's admiration today, but tomorrow may demand a sterner display of authority. The wise leader adjusts without losing center. Machiavelli teaches that rigidity masquerading as virtue is one of the greatest threats to stability. True virtue lies in preserving what matters, even if it requires altering the methods used to protect it. The appearance of goodness is a tool. The preservation of purpose is the mission. The leader who understands this distinction moves through chaos with the grace of a strategist rather than the fragility of a moral absolutist. Machiavelli's philosophy teaches that the mask of virtue is not simply an external performance. It is intertwined with the very psychology of leadership. Leaders must understand that humans often respond more to perception than reality, and perception is shaped by symbols, gestures, and narratives. A ruler who takes necessary but harsh actions in secret, while maintaining a public image of fairness, creates a bridge between necessity and acceptance. People are more likely to follow leaders they believe are good, even if they occasionally make hard decisions, than leaders who appear harsh, yet avoid responsibility. This duality is not dishonesty, it is strategic foresight. Machiavelli forces us to confront the uncomfortable truth that moral transparency can be exploited by those who prioritize self-interest over communal stability. In modern terms, appearing virtuous while executing pragmatic choices is akin to a captain navigating treacherous waters. The crew sees calm and direction, unaware of the dangerous currents being managed below deck. This careful orchestration of appearances is not superficiality. It is the art of maintaining trust, authority, and cohesion in a world where chaos constantly threatens to break the unprepared. The ethical tension in Machiavelli's principle lies in the constant balancing act between intention and perception. A leader may act with the best intentions, but be judged unfairly, or act pragmatically, but risk the moral condemnation of the public. Machiavelli teaches that leadership is an arena where purity of intention is insufficient. Understanding human judgment is equally crucial. Appearing good does not mean abandoning ethical consideration. It means framing necessary actions in ways that minimize backlash and maximize understanding. The genius of Machiavellian thought is that it recognizes the unpredictability of human emotion and the fragility of trust. Leaders are not islands. They exist in a social ecosystem where influence, perception, and credibility determine survival. Thus, managing appearances is not about deceit for selfish gain, but about mitigating the consequences of inevitable conflicts. Machiavelli reminds us that moral courage alone is often inadequate. Practical wisdom must accompany it. The person who navigates these complexities skillfully demonstrates not only intellectual acuity, but also emotional intelligence. Appearing good while doing difficult deeds becomes both a protective measure and a moral responsibility, ensuring the stability and welfare of those entrusted to the leader's care. Machiavelli's principle also extends to the cultivation of alliances and the management of enemies. To appear good in diplomacy ensures that potential threats underestimate one's strength or intentions, while strategic actions behind the scenes protect against betrayal. A ruler or leader who exposes every strategy risks preemption. A leader who hides every virtue risks suspicion. Appearing good builds trust and opens channels of cooperation, while the necessary evil actions secure the position and maintain balance. Machiavelli's genius lies in his realistic understanding of human ambition. People will exploit openings, misunderstand intentions, and misinterpret virtue. The successful leader learns to anticipate these tendencies, using the appearance of goodness as both shield and lure. In the moral landscape of leadership, the ethical challenge is not whether one can act without wrongdoing, but whether one can act without allowing public perception to destabilize the greater good. Here, appearing virtuous is inseparable from effective governance. The lesson transcends politics. It applies to any domain where influence, responsibility, and perception intersect. Strategic morality, therefore, is a combination of what is visible and what is necessary, guided by prudence, foresight, and an unwavering understanding of human nature. Machiavelli's insights become even more relevant when considering the modern world, where information spreads rapidly and appearances dominate public perception. In contemporary politics, social media, corporate leadership, and personal relationships, image often precedes substance. The principle of appearing good while executing difficult actions is not outdated. It is amplified. A single misjudged gesture can overshadow years of careful work, while a well-managed perception can safeguard necessary but unpopular decisions. Machiavelli's brilliance lies in recognizing that morality in leadership is often performative, not superficial. It is performative in the sense that the leader's audience evaluates both words and actions through emotional and cognitive filters. Appearing virtuous is therefore a tool for maintaining credibility, authority, and trust, while private actions serve the long-term objectives and stability of the system. This dual approach requires acute self-discipline, emotional intelligence, and moral clarity. The leader must maintain internal alignment with purpose while externally presenting reassurance. Machiavelli teaches that the challenge of leadership is not simply choosing good over evil, but navigating the tension between appearance, necessity, and consequence with unwavering vigilance. Only those who master this balance can endure the pressures of influence and responsibility. Critically, Machiavelli does not advocate for reckless ruthlessness or amorality. He emphasizes calculated necessity. The evil actions referenced are measured, purposeful, and constrained by the broader objective of stability and welfare. In this light, appearing good becomes a moral imperative, a way of mitigating harm while guiding others through uncertainty. Leadership is not simply an exercise in self-interest, it is an exercise in stewardship. Machiavelli's philosophy challenges the simplistic moral binaries that dominate popular thinking. In practice, every decision carries moral ambiguity, and every action influences perception. The strategic use of appearances enables leaders to navigate this ambiguity without succumbing to external chaos or internal indecision. Appearing good while executing necessary, difficult actions is therefore an ethical strategy, not a contradiction of ethics. It is a recognition that human society is complex, and that the preservation of life, order, and progress often requires a duality of action, one that is outwardly reassuring and inwardly decisive. Machiavelli elevates the discussion of ethics beyond rigid dogma toward a pragmatic understanding of human nature, perception, and responsibility. The tension between appearance and action is not limited to leadership. It is a human universal. Every individual navigates social, professional, and personal landscapes where perception affects opportunity, trust, and survival. Machiavelli's teaching becomes a mirror for self-awareness. How do we present ourselves to the world while managing necessary actions that may not align with popular morality? He forces us to ask, which battles require compromise, which require firmness, and which require strategic concealment? By understanding this duality, one cultivates prudence, foresight, and emotional resilience. Appearing good is a conscious engagement with human psychology. Doing what is necessary is a conscious engagement with reality. Machiavelli reminds us that ethics is not a matter of simple rule-following, but of nuanced judgment. The wise individual learns to reconcile intention, perception, and consequence, to navigate a world where misunderstanding is inevitable, and where human ambition often threatens stability. In this context, virtue is not abandoned, it is deployed strategically, calibrated to both human expectation and the demands of necessity. Ultimately, Machiavelli's insight forces a confrontation with truth. Humans are complex, society is unpredictable, and leadership magnifies these dynamics. Appearing good while executing necessary but difficult decisions is not hypocrisy. It is mastery. It requires courage to act, discipline to endure criticism, and wisdom to anticipate outcomes. Leaders, or anyone navigating influence, must manage the optics of their choices while ensuring that consequences serve their intended purpose. Machiavelli reminds us that moral idealism, untempered by pragmatism, is often destructive. Conversely, moral pragmatism, guided by awareness of perception, enables stability, growth, and trust. The ethical paradox of leadership is thus reframed. The challenge is not choosing between good and evil, but harmonizing action, image, and consequence in a world where people judge harshly, inconsistently, and emotionally. Appearing virtuous is a tool of stewardship. Necessary actions, however harsh, are the guardrails of responsibility. Machiavelli teaches that the path of influence is rarely straightforward, but understanding and managing this duality separates the transient from the enduring, the naive from the wise, and the failed from the truly effective. In conclusion, the lesson of Machiavelli is both timeless and profoundly human. Appearances shape reality as much as actions do. To lead, influence, or survive effectively, one must cultivate the art of appearing good while possessing the courage, insight, and moral discipline to act decisively when circumstances demand it. This duality is not a flaw. It is a necessity dictated by the unpredictability of human nature. Machiavelli challenges the simplistic moral narratives we cling to, reminding us that wisdom lies in the marriage of perception and action, of compassion and firmness, of image and consequence. To navigate the world successfully, one must master both the external theater of appearances and the internal architecture of strategy. In the quiet moments of reflection, one must reconcile personal integrity with pragmatic responsibility, understanding that ethical leadership is an active negotiation rather than a static ideal. By studying Machiavelli, we gain insight into the human condition, the mechanics of power, and the delicate balance required to thrive amidst complexity, contradiction, and uncertainty. This is the Golden Circle Philosophy channel. Like the video, share it with a friend, and subscribe for more videos like this one. Thank you for watching.